Hello, dear friends. Thank you for joining me today. The reason I want to record this video is to talk a little bit about low-code solution design principles. So let's say you need to design your first Power App, right? Or any other simple low-code solution. What are the most important things to look at when you design this app, right? There are a couple of components which are really important. So the first component, and the one that I took it separately here would be authorization, authentication, and security. So meaning if you have specific security considerations, please take it into your design for sure. And it could be some specific identity management, some users who have specific capability in your app, like the admin user who can do everything in the app, or with whom these apps are shared. If there are some logical decisions that can be made and which are connected with separate data sources, that should be taken into consideration. So security should be the keystone. And then for the general layers of the design, right, we would design the front end. And normally Power Apps, they already give you a quite nice front end UI where you can interactively just drag and drop different elements like labels, buttons, logos, to make transition to different screens. So that's quite intuitive, right? This part is quite intuitive. The learning curve here is not very big, so you should be able to grasp it within probably a couple of days to see how the front-end design can be done. Of course, it depends on what you design. If it's done for a specific mobile device, for a mobile platform, if it's for iOS or Android or a tablet PC. So, depending on that, you would select specific design areas there. Yes. Then when we would go to the next part that it's important to talk about would be the logic layer, right? So normally every app has a specific logic, specific process that this app follows or this app uncovers, and the process design is quite important also, so my suggestion would be at first to draw out this process, right? So you and your key stakeholders understand what this process is about and how to use it. And last but not least would be the data layer, right? So our data has to be stored somewhere. It could be in a Dataverse, it could be in some SharePoint as a backend, it could be even in Excel tables, right? It could be in a file which is stored somewhere in OneDrive. Of course, the preference would be to store files somewhere in the cloud because it's easier to integrate with other services there. So, and it's much easier to synchronize, easier to access through the cloud. So definitely data layer should be somewhere in the cloud. The question is, how do we design, right? What kind of tables should be there? What kind of columns? Is it a complex entity relations or is it something simple? So there it's important to keep in mind. But for you to know in general, there are three layers. So it would be the front end, right? The middle layer, or the one that has logic processing, and the data layer. And of course, security would be really important to consider, especially if your company has some specific security policies. And now I want to show you a little bit how to work with a data layer. Let's say I have this vacation Power App that requires people to leave for vacation, right? And how can we approach this design, right? So this is what I've done so far. This is just a mind map that can be used as a starting point to do the data layer design. So let's say we have a vacation leave, right? Of course, each leave would have a category, right? So category could be unpaid, it could be sick leave, it could be paid leave. So at least a couple of options for those categories. Then we can differentiate leaves based on a leave type, right? So on a day leave type. So it could be a full day, it could be a half day or a second half of the day in the afternoon. So this would be a separation through the type of a day leave, right? Then we can talk about leave entitlement, right? So let's say for the leave entitlement, minimum would be 0, right? And the maximum would be 20 days. Of course, it depends on the country, but let's assume we have 20 days. And of course, we have some initial number of days that would be the entitlement. And then logically, we can decrease this initial number of days to go to the minimum. Right. Also, when we talk about leave status, it's, if we do some brainstorming, we could probably find that there is a approved leave, right, rejected, not submitted, or resubmitted and submitted. So this not submitted could be a draft, and then of course taken. Maybe one more could be created like in progress or something like this, depending on our requirements, right? And also one more object that's important to talk about would be leave notification, right? If the leave notification is sent to the requester and to the manager, or it is not sent. So it could be a Boolean value, right, that has only two options, send or not send. And when we take leave on public holidays, of course, the leave entitlement should not be decreased. And if this day happens on a public holiday, it would be yes. And if it's not on a public holiday, then no. So these are some objects that we can use when designing the data layer, right? So basically it can be a table, right, that would have like a leave name, right? Then probably some comments. Then it has a category with these three options, right? Then it would have a day leave type with a couple of options, leave entitlement, a number would be here, etc. So that's you get an idea from here how to go about your brainstorming. So the initial setup, the initial design of your data layer for for this app. And of course, for each of the layers for the process, it will be a little bit different, but the idea is the same, right? You just draw the process out, starting with process start, and then put in some logic in place, and you can do some actors here. So yeah, that's something like this. This would be like a prerequisite work, preliminary work before the actual POC. So before the proof of concept, you have to have the clear picture, what's happening, and how you plan to do that. So I hope it helps you to do a little bit of architectural design for low-code solutions. Thanks for joining me today. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day and stay healthy. Bye-bye.